We now have a case presentation by Mr. Ramit Gupta titled Two Sides of Emerging Technologies, Managing Between the Lure of Potentials and the Risk of Misfit. Mr. Ramit Gupta, for you.
Sorry? Slides are there, okay. And I'll just flick this? Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. Am I audible at the back there? Yeah, okay, great. So, quick disclaimers. Unlike the August audience which we had earlier, which is more about running captive shared services, I think would provide a very different perspective on the conversation, because I come from a services delivery part of the work, so we are more like a service partner to clients, right? The topic which, when Rakesh and I spoke on this, the topic is rather interesting and intriguing, right? I mean, in the sense that how do you weigh two sides of emerging technology, right? There's always that lure of the potential, at the same time the anxiety and the risk associated with it being a misfit, right? So that was the charter which is given to me. Okay, so while we go ahead, I think I've got around 15-20 minutes to go, so I'll run with that, and we'll keep it interactive. Please feel free to stop me and ask any questions right as we go through this. I just wanted to take a minute and talk about how we see the world as IBM, right? A lot of this would be known to you, but just because this is very important for subsequent slides, which I'm going to talk about. We as IBM see ourselves as enabling cognitive enterprise, which is delivered by hybrid cloud. So that's really what the yin yang of IBM is. Okay. Now we'll have different views about what a cognitive enterprise is, etc. So I don't know if it's visible. It's rather small. I didn't anticipate that. But if you see on the right-hand side of the chart, that is what we mean is a cognitive enterprise. So cognitive enterprise is nothing but business platforms. Okay, a business platform is nothing but a combination of, data at the lowest level. Then we have a set of processes which are sitting in between, which are liberally sprinkled with emerging technology, because that's rapidly changing. Okay. It's so difficult, and there were conversations earlier in the day about how do you forecast, what's going to happen. That's actually very tough, right? So that's the kind of, where we are looking at liberally sprinkling your workflows or business processes end to end with a lot of emerging technologies. And it will, in our opinion, the pace of the sprinkling will actually accelerate as technologies are maturing, and the cost of technology is coming down, right? And then on top of it, of course, the most important part is the human being and the people which are going to be there. So what that will deliver is an organization which is self-learning, which is adaptive to the change coming in, and being able to scale up, scale down as the need be. Now let me give you an example. The question is, okay, give me an example. It's too theoretical, right? So we are all familiar with, there are various types of platforms which you're all familiar with, right? So there is one platform which is called, let's say, the mass consumer platforms like Amazon, Facebook, etc., right? Which are B2C, and everybody comes in, participates, and gets something out of it. Then most of the companies in this room, you would also have some industry-specific technology platforms which you participated in, right? Let's say Salesforce.com or Ariba.com, right? Or anything else which have pre-built business rules, okay? But you're subscribing to it and working on it. And then on top of it is what we call as business platforms, which sits on top of it, right? So an example would be, let's say, an end-to-end P2P, right? Or a better example is, let's say, end-to-end order-to-cash cycle, which not starts only from an order, but it starts from lead, right? So if you are able to get a lead conversion, that conversion getting converted into a sales order, into a delivery order, into a dispatch, into actually delivery on site, and the cash collections, etc. Right? So that entire cycle is what is the O2C or lead to cash cycle, depending on how you call it, right? And good old days, we used to talk about, when I was doing my B school, which is around 20 years back, we used to talk about the four forces of, Porter's four forces, etc., and what is your USP. In our opinion, the future is about what is your business platform versus what is your business platform, right? And that's where the fight really would happen, in our opinion, okay? So a company would say that my lead to cash is far more stronger, and I'm more collaborative with my entire organization and giving a unified view to the consumer at the end of it. Now, how we as an organization are structured internally, that's our problem, right? It's not a consumer's problem in a way, okay? Now, what that means is the back office, shared services, or the front sales office, it's one unified organization. They have to come, together seamlessly to deliver that experience to the front end, right? So that's the path in which we see the world. Okay, now, if that is true, and there are a lot of examples which we have around, we have been working with clients to deliver that, okay? And I'll talk about two examples today. One is what we are seeing as IBM, and I'll be far more closer to my own heart, and I think some contextual conversation in this room, especially around the business, the shared services environment, and how we are seeing the changes in that world. And second is how we have helped clients evolve, in an external environment. How have we managed coming back to the path or the topic which was given to me about managing the two sides of the equation, which is the lure of the potential and managing the risks of misfit, okay? So very quickly on the internal side of IBM, right? So, we know this, right? So considering the pace of technology coming in, the digital question coming in, the operating model changing across the shared services, our existing CPS business, as we call, which is the business outsourcing services which we do for clients globally, okay, which is not a small business, that itself is dramatically going to change, right? It's changing in captives, so it will change for us as a service delivery organization. So for us to be able to proactively try and transform that is very important. So how do we go about doing it, okay? And this is fresh from the oven, really. This is getting baked as we speak. We have successfully gone live in a couple of examples, and I'll talk you through how we have looked at creating a complete platform on the record to report, record to analyze cycle of the finance and accounts function. Now, traditionally, finance in the R2R side, the conversation I think earlier in the day we had is around most of the work was more FTE based. You're right. You typically do man-to-man mapping when we are moving work from the West and doing it in India, saying that, okay, there are 50 people doing it, we'll do it with 60 here or 50 here, etc. And these are the desktop procedures which you are going to deliver here. So it was done that way. What we are now trying to do is, okay, we started questioning where are we heading. Okay, so the conversation is for us to build support within an organization which is reasonably doing well, for us to be ready for the future. How do we, first of all, gather support from the internal stakeholders, right? So we need to agree that where are we heading, okay? So you may be directionally wrong, you need to be directionally right. You may be wrong on the specifics, right? That, okay, for example, at least what our research was saying is that if you look at the pyramid of the workload in record to report, okay, usually around 50% of the work goes in accounting operations, okay, which is around transaction processing. Around 30% of the work goes into controllership work, okay, in F&A. And then 20% of the work goes in the decision support. Okay, we are seeing this in the next 5 years in terms of number of human hours which are being deployed, okay, to completely change in the pyramid structure. Okay, so we are seeing in the next 5 years, for example, the time which we should want to spend on the top end of the thing will increase from 20% to 70%. The transaction time, because it will be largely done by digital workers, with technology coming in, right? You may choose to call it whatever. You call it intelligent workflows, you call it RPAs, you call it blockchain, whatever suits your purpose, or you built your own grounds up tools, right? So humans will be doing only 20% of that work. Overall time of the work which needs to be done, only 20% of that is going to be allocated to the lower end of the work, okay? Now, that's a significant threat to us as a service delivery organization, right? I do work by deploying people. Now, if the client doesn't outsource that work to me, what do I do? It's an existential threat to me, right? So how do we reinvent ourselves? That's how this conversation started, right? So we started saying, okay, what do we do? Why are these happening? So at the bottom layer level, you have the ERPs which are getting upgraded. Many of you are moving into S/4HANA. They come with their own Fiori apps. You don't need, humans doing that work. A lot of that is getting automated, correct? So nobody needs to do anything. The second thing is you have partner ecosystems. You and I, we are all deploying partners which will come and do quick bit of analysis, give you some kind of control checklist, etc., and you move on, right? So that's what was beginning to happen. So we called out we said that we need to change this paradigm, right? For us to be existentially relevant, we have to change ourselves, which means we challenge our $1.2 billion business and reinvent ourselves, as an example, okay? So let me talk more into the R2R side. So what did we do? I think some of the people in the panel here talked about the fact that you do some design thinking, voice of the customer, figure out what's the art of the possible. And I think in the previous panel, we had the crystal ball moving. So we also had a crystal ball moving inside the company, saying that, okay, what is it that you want as an R2R guy? Internally, within IBM, because we also are a fairly large processing of F&A work, multi-country, multi-geography, multi-time zones, multi-currency, etc. So we did that internally, we did that with our clients. Okay, so of course you want predictability, you want traceability, you want continuous book close, right? Nobody wants month-end book close. Can we do that? Okay, so we started questioning ourselves, where are we heading? It's not about process efficiency. It's about because technology is now available, we have the ability to think us beyond the ordinary, right? So we started doing that. One important point which came out is codify the best practices. Okay, and I think before lunch there was a conversation about power of one, right? How do you ensure scaled up processes being delivered to an individual like me? How can you do it? You can do it because the system, you're codifying the SOP, right? So if this happens, then send it to Ramit. If it happens, send it to Rakesh, for example. So you are able to now deliver that workflow, okay, at a power of one. So we codify the SOPs into the system. It's no more about cheat sheets, where they are able to do it, right? And you need to have that flexibility tomorrow if it changes. So we designed all this. That's not mine. Okay, I'm sorry, it's not readable, but I'll try and talk about it. Then we said, okay, that's about the transactional capability. What else do we need? We need ease of use. Do it yourself. Okay, so let's take a cut, move away from F&A. If you look at the IT help desk, which many of us manage or deliver, right? Most of the IT or AMS is self-service. We talked about digital quotient here, right? Most of the millennials are able to create, take care of the mobiles and the laptops on their own. I don't think so. They come to the help desk usually, right? So we have moved a lot of it to self-service. So why can't that happen in F&A, for example, right? So can we create dashboards, reports, which are FII or DIY? You do it on the fly, okay? We need to have collaboration. So if you look at the activities which are pertaining to reconciliations or close, it is a lot of emailed conversation, a lot of phone conversation, moving from one place to another. Can we start tracking it like a WhatsApp? Enables collaboration, right? You have the single version of truth at that place itself. correct? Know and act fast. You should know immediately. You should be able to have, from a controller's viewpoint, if he starts knowing that, okay, these are the high risk items, right? This is the impact which is going to happen on a balance sheet. This is an aging AR which hasn't closed for the last 90 days. Then I need to act on it. So know and act. You don't wait for reports really coming your way, right? So we defined, if you look at it, what are we doing? Just to take a step back, right? We started questioning ourselves. Otherwise, we would have an existential challenge. We said, okay, what is the art of the possible? None of this is new technology. None of it is new, right? I'm sure all of us will agree. This is roadside technology available. It's just being brought to use for a certain purpose, right? So then we started visualizing the future. Then we started saying, okay, what are the dimensions of success, right? What are the picture of success? Then we went further. We started defining the users of this platform. So let's say there's a preparer, there's a reviewer, there's a controller, there's an auditor. What does he want out of this platform in the record to report side? What data points he needs, what ease of use he needs. We defined all that, right? Then we double checked with our own internal IBM Finance. How much of this is useful to you? Are there use cases which you also need, we also need from our clients? Can we match that and then scale it up quickly in a factory? Because if we are testing it ourselves, I'm sure our clients will adopt it. Why will they not? I mean, the reason why our shared services business we're very proud of is because it's driven by the entire work which we have been delivering ourselves and taking it forward to clients. Okay. So we have finally now come up with an architecture overall in terms of what the system will look like. And then finally the proof of success. So this is, as I did say, straight out of the oven. So there are 2 clients where we have gone live with. There's a global publishing company where we have been able to reduce the operation cost by 50%. The money, which is money and time spent on auditing, because now you have a system-based trail. The questions which the auditor will ask will also be different, right? So the money spent on auditing has reduced. Okay. The balance sheet rationalization. We have 30% lower volumes on journal movement, where the manuals are people are actually spending time. Okay. The other example is a manufacturing client where we have been able to bring operational control by reducing 60% of the resources around that. So these are small incremental benefits, but exactly as where we are. Okay, in the interest of time, just to share with you, this is not the end of the journey. Okay, so we started big. We have delivered some POCs, pilots. Now we are scaling it up across, and we have a journey of continuously dropping new products. So what we're hoping to do in the next 3 to 6 months is being able to offer R2R as a transaction. Okay, so for example, we are hearing, and a lot of companies do that as service providers, that okay, I'll charge you per invoice. Can we start charging per journal? Why can't I? Because I got the platform, right? And it integrates structures with the data and delivers it the way you want it, right? So I thought I'll share that as an example around how it takes courage. I'm sure you'll appreciate that. It takes courage to suddenly, review your entire organization and then come up with something and then go back to clients, let's look at it again. So that's what we're doing as IBM from a CPS standpoint. I don't know how much time we have. Okay. How much time we have? I'm over? Okay, cool. So then I'll not go into the other client side, which I had about where we have actually delivered this. So it's always challenging to manage the 2 sides of the equation. I mean, you know it far more than I do. We struggle with it every day. But I think the question, the comment which I have with my clients is that, there's no option. There's absolutely no option. And the pace of change is actually increasing with time. It's not slowing down, right? So the sooner you have, and I think a great conversation about having partner ecosystems, etc. I think having the right partner with the right vision is something which makes the journey slightly more easier to drive it, right? So with that, I'll close my conversation. Any comments, any questions anybody has, would be happy to take that.
Yeah, he's got a question. Go ahead, please. Mike.
Thank you, Ramit. If you can just go back to the slide that wherein you
Could you identify yourself,
sorry,
please?
yeah. So this is Balaji from CBA.
Yeah, sorry, which one?
If you can just go back to the slide that had the pyramid, I just had a question on it.
Can you bring the slide back up?
Okay, so let me just proceed with the question that what I
Sure.
remember. So you had the pyramid which basically became an inverted pyramid, right? And you have the decision support layer on the top. So with all these technologies coming into picture, don't you think that the inverted pyramid will normally become a diamond because the decision support, the time or the efforts that you need to execute those decision support or the judgmental activities would also normally reduce, right?
No, actually, it will become much tougher. That's my opinion. Sorry, I'm a very contrary point of view in my mind. Okay, so what is going to happen is we are entering into an age where being able to manage complexity is your USP.
Okay.
Okay. Right now, people don't want to manage complexity because otherwise the size and scale just doesn't allow you to do it. That's why we always talk about standardization, elimination, etc., etc. Right? Now, with your ability to have multiple, let's say the same P2P process, if you have some variations and you want to manage it, right? Then you need those many people to be able to see that alerts and being able to take decisions.
No, so that's where the question remains. Why do you need people when you have a machine?
No, so in our opinion, yeah, so what will happen is, through our platform, and happy to share that in detail, is that, it is able to give you an alert saying that, okay, this is a high risk item and this is the recommended view of doing it. Okay, and it will also learn itself depending on what decision you've given. Right. But we anticipate that once a lot of these things go at larger scale, right, you will have more intensity of people actually reviewing the decisions that the machines are making. Nobody wants the machines to take decisions. Everybody wants machines to do the processing. All the fallout should come to me for a review. That's why we think, at least we are not envisaging that to go away by digital in any way.
Yeah, so, yeah, I agree it won't.
Age. I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Dheeraj Sonavane, Director and Center Head Global Shared Services from Solenis, to please come and give a memento to Mr. Ramit Gupta, Partner Digital Strategy, IBM Services.